Hello, sports fans. This is your host, Erin Foley. I am thrilled to be back with you. Years ago, I did a podcast called Sports Without Balls that ran for over 5 years. It was one of my favorite things I've done. And this is a rebrand. It's a 2.0 version called Herlights. It's a weekly deep dive into the world of women's sports. The only place I want to be, the only thing I want to be talking about. So welcome, old fans, new fans, small children, grandparents, pets. Gather around the fire. Today we're talking basketball, soccer. We got the feel-good moment of the week. There's so much to cover, so let's dive right in. I'm going to kick this off by saying women's sports is having a moment right now. Holy crap, this is so exciting. And obviously the face of this movement is Caitlin Clark after her epic collegiate basketball career. I mean, she broke every record there was to break. Men, women, didn't matter. She blew through every single record. I'd been watching her for years, but obviously that senior season was just epic. Captured the hearts and minds of everyone, internationally, nationally, people that weren't even Iowa fans, that didn't even know Iowa existed. They fell in love with her game and that team, and it was incredible. And obviously, we're also excited to see her career in the WNBA. But before we get to that, I think it's really important to put this moment into context. Absolutely, Caitlin Clark has catapulted women's sports. But this moment doesn't happen if we don't have huge moments in the past building up to this momentum shift for women's sports. And of course, there's so many examples, but I just picked out a couple that I think are just really deserve some credit for getting this train out of the station, right? It's not like Caitlin Clark came in and was just, dragging this train out of the station. This women's sports train is on the tracks. It's moving. Clark just jumped into the conductor's seat and hit the gas, okay? So we are building. This moment has been building for 10, 20, 30, 40 years. One example I would say is the 99ers, right? I've got the shirt on. If you're watching on YouTube, I've got a shirt on that says Akers, Ham, Lily. Those women on the 1999 team, they win the World Cup, sold out stadium in Pasadena. And, the Brandy Chastain, the whole thing, that put not only women's sports on the map, but women's soccer on the map. It paved the way for our professional leagues. And on the backs of that, winning the World Cup in 2015, 2019, and at the same time having that very public battle for equal pay, that was huge. That was a huge momentum shift. And I think everyone was paying attention and everyone was supporting. It was not only like for women's soccer, it was just like women in general. That was such a huge, huge moment. I'd also say Serena Williams. I mean, without a doubt. Now, women's tennis has been popular for a very long time, but Serena Williams just brought tennis to a whole nother level, just selling out. That was one of the first examples I can think of where a woman sold out the finals before the men's. I mean, consistently, not just in the twilight of her career. She just, propelled that sport. Also, not only women, African-American women, they finally saw themselves like, oh my God, here's our role model. Here's a path forward. And then we see the Coco Gauff and Madison Keys. I mean, just epic. And I'd have to say this. I would also, the 1996 women's gold medal basketball team. We won the gold in Atlanta that year. And I don't know if people know the backstory, but that team laid the foundation for just literally the opportunity for the WNBA to start. They were under so much pressure. There's an incredible ESPN documentary called Dream On. Listen to the rest of this podcast, but when you're done, go to ESPN and watch that. Highlights the players and the pressure they were under. It is absolutely incredible, right? If that team does not do well in 96, there is no WNBA, or at least it pushes the WNBA back 5-10 years, who knows? So this moment that we're having right now is absolutely incredible and huge, huge kudos to Caitlin Clark. But I do think it's important to kind of honor and talk about all these individuals and teams that have been building women's sports and creating this amazing foundation. for us to achieve the success and the ticket sales and the attendance that we're having right now across the board in women's sports. And I think we're all super excited for Clark to hit the hardwood. WNBA season, the preseason starts later in the week. Regular season starts Tuesday, May 14th. We're all so excited to see how her success is going to carry over to the professional level. I have no doubt it is. But here is what I'm talking about. The WNBA. Now we're seeing sellouts, right? We're seeing Atlanta, Dallas, and Vegas sell out their season tickets, right? And everyone's like, it's Caitlin Clark. It is partially Caitlin Clark. I want to highlight this. The WNBA has been growing and growing and growing. This is what I'm talking about. I want to get a little nerdy and share some stats from the WNBA 2023 season, okay? Highest attendance 13 years. Most watched regular season in 21 years. 1.3 million viewers watched the WNBA finals. And this next stat is bananas. Across all WNBA social media, the league generated a record 373 million video views, 96% increase, okay? So again, this is just like this culmination, this perfect storm of excitement, right? So you've got this growing sport, and then Clark comes in and just takes it to another level. All right, let's get into WNBA 2024 season. Here's what I got for you. I got 5 storylines, okay? And if you are contemplating getting season tickets or going to games, I'm telling you, get your tickets. This is going to be the most competitive, the most parity, most watched, attended. The excitement is at a fever pitch. And let's jump in what everybody has been saying, the Caitlin Clark effect. If you're a new fan and you're like, okay, should I go? Should I get a ticket? And you're like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go get a ticket when Caitlin Clark comes into town, when the Indiana Fever comes into town. Great, fantastic. The Erin Foley dream sequence is when you're there, that you fall in love with your home team, because you will. There's only 12 teams. So each roster only has up to 12 players, right? So we're talking about quick math, 144. That was pretty impressive. So every single team is absolutely loaded. So if you go, even if it's to see Caitlin Clark, totally fine. You are going to be blown away by your home team. And you're going to fall in love with your home team, and you're going to keep going back and supporting your home team. That team's going to grow. That team's attendance is going to grow. More eyeballs, more TV deals. We're getting an expansion team in 2025, and hopefully then the league can fully expand. And that's what we need right now. You will see new fans, even old fans, in this next week or two. This happens every year, but now more and more people are talking about it. Some of your favorite collegiate players will get cut, and they'll get cut immediately. They'll get cut this week. They'll go cut next week, because camps probably have 19, 20 people, maybe. You can only take 12, or maybe they have 16, 17 kids, right? I say kids, women, amazing women. I don't know why I just said kids. And phenomenal basketball players, right? And there's just not enough roster spots. So the whole point of this, it might be a Caitlin Clark effect that gets you to your home team and you buy a ticket, but be prepared to be overwhelmed and just a bucket full of joy watching these women. So support them, come out, buy tickets, support them every week. The league will expand, and there'll be more teams and more roster spots for all this talent that we're seeing. Storyline number 2, the super teams, Las Vegas Aces and New York Liberty. Will we see them back in the finals? Is the Vegas going to be a three-peat? This hasn't been done since the inception of the league with the Houston Comets, when they won 18 championships in a row. I think they won 4. I still think that even with all this explosion of new talent, that these two teams are going to still be the best in 2024. Can the Liberty conquer the Aces? Can the Aces make history and do a three-peat? I still think that this is a major storyline going into the WNBA this season, and I am super pumped to see how this plays out. Okay, the third storyline. I'm going to label this as most intriguing team, and this is the Chicago Sky. Now, the Chicago Sky won the championship in 2021 with Vandersloot and Candace Parker. Okay, we're going to have to take a small, quick 30-second tangent. Candace Parker just retired yesterday, and I got the news, immediately started welling up. I'll probably start crying right now. And my partner came in the room and she was like, well, you know what happened? I was like, it's Candace Parker. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, oh, she retired. And she's like, are you crying? And I said, yeah, I'm crying. She's like, seriously? And I was like, if you hadn't come in the room, I probably would have escalated to sobbing. She's one of my all-time favorite players. I've never seen anyone that tall. I mean, she can dunk. Again, here's your second assignment. When this podcast is done, go watch Candace Parker highlights. She can dunk, and she dribbles down the floor, hoop to hoop, like a 5'10" guard. She just absolutely transformed the game. And as a Liberty fan, I should be excited that she retired, because she's on the Aces, and you think, oh my God, the Aces, can they get any better? And then you put freaking Candace Parker in there and your mind is blown. But I was sad. I was sad to see her go. I wanted one more season of Candace Parker. Okay, so my whole point is that the Chicago Sky, and listeners, I do this a lot. I go to like just tangents because I get excited about a lot of things. Chicago Sky, they won in 2021. And then kind of just completely fell off. Just a lot of coaching turmoil. Players got traded, didn't have successful seasons in 2022 or 2023. So this offseason, wow, it is a completely different look. They hired Teresa Weatherspoon to be the coach. Teaspoon, one of my all-time favorite players. Their assistant coach is Crystal Robinson. Now, diehard WNBA players, you know where I'm going with this. New fans, hear me out. Crystal Robinson and Teaspoon were on the starting 5 New York Liberty teams, those great Liberty teams that helped really form the WNBA. And now they're coaching together in Chicago. So now I'm like, okay, now I have to start rooting for Chicago. So that obviously just excites me so much. Then they have rookie sensations, Camila Cardoso from South Carolina, Angel Reese from LSU. The pairing of those two, I'm like, if I'm in Chicago, I'm buying season tickets. Along with Mabry, who's been in the league maybe 4 or 5 years. And then they got a player named Chennedy Carter. Now, Chennedy Carter was a number 1 draft pick a couple of years ago. She played for Atlanta. She didn't even play in the WNBA last year. She played overseas. There's some issues. Let's just say, I think if she can straighten out herself, and to have a coach like Teaspoon, a pairing like Teaspoon, if Chennedy Carter, who's got unlimited potential, if she gets on like the straight and narrow in Chicago and just reins it in and just plays basketball and gets out of her head and just puts all the BS off the court, she could be one of the best players in the league. I'm not being dramatic. So to me, the Chicago storyline is just fascinating. You've got these amazing coaches, this sort of unbridled talent. What's going to happen in Chicago? I don't know. This is why this next season is going to be so exciting. Fourth storyline, Phoenix and Seattle. Now, these were really interesting off seasons for both teams, and both really compelling reasons to watch these two teams. And I'm lumping them together because in my mind, I've lumped them together for a long time because of Taurasi in Phoenix and her best friend Sue Bird in Seattle. So these two teams have always had I've loved these two teams. Taurasi, I grew up, little backstory on me, 30 seconds, nobody panic. Grew up in New York, and my aunt and uncle taught in a public school in Storrs, Connecticut. So they, from a very young age, I've been rooting for UConn because of my aunt and uncle. And so I remember at one point in time, I was like 20 something, and I was figuring out if I was gay or not. I was so gay. And I was in the gift shop at UConn staring at a Diana Taurasi jersey, being like, should I get it? Should I buy it? Should I not buy it? Is that too gay? What does that make me? Just ridiculous. I was young. I should have bought the jersey. I didn't buy the jersey, but my love of Taurasi started when she was probably like 18, her freshman year at UConn, right? So Phoenix, always a place in my heart for Phoenix. So it looks like this is probably going to be Taurasi's last season. I think she's going to take a page out of Sue Bird book where she plays for probably half the season. And then when she's about to play in the stadiums for like that final time, she'll announce her retirement. Just a thought, just I think that's what's going to happen. She has not announced anything. And in the offseason, they get Kalia Copper from Chicago, which is a massive pickup, right? So now it becomes like a mini super team. You've got Taurasi and Griner and Copper, plus an entire other roster of really great players. But to me, those three are going to be really fun to watch and really interesting if Phoenix can get it. They've got a new coach. If they can kind of get it together, can they pick off a Vegas or a Liberty? Do they have that potential? That's going to be a really interesting storyline, how that team comes together. Seattle, same thing. Huge rebuild, right? Sue Bird retires, but they have Jewel Lloyd, who's going to go down as one of the greatest players of all time. She is just starting to get the fame she deserves. So in the offseason, Nneka Ogwumike, who's, again, another phenomenal basketball player, one of my all-time favorites, she went from the Sparks, broke my heart, to Seattle. And then Skylar Diggins-Smith, who used to be on Phoenix, goes to Seattle. There's your mini super team, okay? Nneka, Jewel Lloyd, Skylar, amazing. Also, they drafted Nika Mule out of UConn, who did shutdown defense on Caitlin Clark in the NCAA March Madness tournament. So they are really putting a really nice team together in Seattle. So those are my mini super teams. So keep your eye out for Phoenix and Seattle. Can they gel as a team and give the Liberty and Vegas a run for the money? Okay, last storyline. I'm going with Atlanta and Dallas. Now, I prepped this podcast probably a week ago, all right? A little bit of a nerd. This is the first episode. Got really excited. Didn't want to make it too crazy stat detail oriented. But I picked Atlanta, Dallas for the last storyline before the news broke out that they sold out their season ticket packages. Now, the reason why I had Atlanta and Dallas in this fifth storyline is because they have so much momentum going into 2024. They made the playoffs. They've got amazing coaches on both teams. And I thought that they kind of exceeded expectations last year. And now, because of that momentum from 2023 and the Caitlin Clark effect, they sold out their season tickets, which just sort of, got me excited because they were a storyline. So I'm like, see, they deserve to be a storyline. Tina Charles jumping into the Atlanta team, already packed Atlanta team. Dallas got even stronger with some really good draft picks. And I want to tell you this. We're going full circle. Here's another moment that propelled women's basketball. And she is the star of the Dallas Wings. This is why I'm doing it right now, full circle. Arike Ogunbowale, star of Dallas. In 2018, she was on Notre Dame. In the finals, in the semifinals and finals of the 2018 March Madness tournament, she hit back-to-back buzzer beaters to win the national championship. It's on YouTube. Even if you've seen this, I went back and watched it again, just prepping for this podcast. Just incredible games. Beats UConn, beats Mississippi State back-to-back. Her dog was named Kobe because Kobe Bryant was her favorite player. She goes on Ellen after the tournament. Kobe joins her. I mean, it was so feel-good and so amazing. But it's just funny to me how you have all these like new fans now being like just discovering March Madness, right? And they're like, wow, women's basketball, like, oh my God. And you're like, no, women's basketball and March Madness has been this exciting for so long. And just the fact that we've got all these new fans, first of all, is tremendous. But just a shout out, to Arike and all these women that have been playing in these tournaments, making the WNBA. as amazing as it is. And now I'm so excited for all this new viewership and new fandom. So there you have it. WNBA, get in on the action. Preseason game starts this Friday. Regular season starts Tuesday, May 14th. It is going to be one hell of a year. Buckle up. Let's do this. We're pivoting. There's a WNBA. There's a basketball pun right there. We are pivoting to soccer, the National Women's Soccer League. We are about 6 games into the season. Little backstory. I live in Los Angeles, and I'm a season ticket holder, of course, because I'm obsessed with sports, to our local club, which is the Angel City Football Club, ACFC. Expansion team started in 2022. So this is our 3rd season. If you have a chance and you're in California, just seeing the sights, go see an ACFC game. It is so much fun. We sell out all our home games. The atmosphere is so feel good. It's like 22,000 people, just mostly like honestly families, little kids in jerseys. It's so feel good. Also my people, lesbians everywhere. It's like the social event of a season. So obviously there's a whole bunch of storylines already in the NWSL. I'm just going to focus on a couple matches that I saw last week at home. ACFC played North Carolina and they played Kansas City. Those 2 teams are so good and so exciting to watch. So I have a couple stories from each game that I wanted to share. And the first one, I went to see ACFC North Carolina. I was really looking forward to it. And a couple of days before the match, lots of drama. Okay. The Friday before the Sunday match, this is just about 10 days ago, was a trade deadline. And I'm sure soccer fans, you either lost or gained someone on your team. The trade deadlines are always, well, they're filled with anxiety. And the reason being is, you just don't know what's going to happen. And ACFC lost 2 of our best players, Paige Neilsen and Amandine Henry. That is my French accent. She is just captain of the French team. She came over here. And this, by the way, the international players playing in the NWSL has brought the league to another level. I mean, the level of soccer is just incredible. So we lose Henri to Utah for no player, just money. And we're like, okay. So that was just a huge loss in the midfield. And then we lose Paige Neilsen. Now, Paige Neilsen, doesn't matter if you know her or not to enjoy this story. She's just a lockdown defender and ride or die ACFC day one. The fan base absolutely loves her. If you're a soccer fan, she co-hosted a podcast called, I think it was In Her Cleats. She's just great. Just a huge fan favorite. That's the only way I can say it's just an absolute fan favorite. So to lose her was just kind of devastating. Again, I think we got like 50 grand in a bag of chips. I'm like, what are we doing here? Right? We're all the ACFC fans were just like, I don't understand. It's allocation money. So it's like, what is going to happen to that money? Also, at the same point in time, right before the season started, ACFC was like, we're going to sell the team. So it has been kind of this really up and down, questionable year of management, players. So there's a lot of kind of unrest. And then we lose Paige Neilsen. And this, to me, the backlash and the outrage is got to be one of my favorite, let's just say, news stories in sports. Because with the social media, I know it's bad, it's evil, it's terrible, it's wrecking all of our lives. I can't stop. But the joy of social media is when something like this happens, the comments were epic. And I'm sure you can find this if you go on the ACFC Instagram when they announce the trade. I'm just going to talk you through it for a couple minutes. Okay. The backlash started on Instagram, and all the LA people, I'm just going to be real specific, all the LA lesbians were outraged. They're like, how can it started stuff like this, like, how could you trade our favorite player? How could you trade, one of the best defenders? I can't believe this is happening. There's no warning, right? So it's just like kind of regular sports talk. And then it went into Lesbianville. They're like, how could you trade an out lesbian that lives with her wife in Los Angeles to Texas. Like, how could you do that? Like, you're putting her in harm's way. Texas blows. That governor is a piece of shit. Now, I'm not disagreeing with any of this stuff. I just probably wouldn't have gone there on social media. I don't do a lot of commenting like that on social media. I just, this is one of the reasons why I started the podcast, because it's like I keep trapping people wanting to talk about these stories and I have no outlet. So you're my outlet, people. If you're listening, I love you and thank you for letting me get this out. So LA lesbians were just in this, just taking big swings, right? This went above and beyond the soccer field. It felt like we're dropping her off in the middle of like just enemy country, right? And obviously Texas is terrible for LGBTQ community. So they start going off, right? So then here's what the unexpected happened. Houston Dash fan. So she gets traded to Houston Dash. I should say that. I'm not sure if I said that. So she gets traded to Houston Dash. So Houston Dash fans, specifically lesbians, start battling the LA lesbians on Instagram, being like, Houston's different from the state of Texas. I don't know why I'm talking like this. It's just to differentiate. They were fired up, and I feel like I talk like this, so I'm just going to say this is the voice of Houston Dash lesbians. We're going to take care of her, just calm down. Don't, lump Houston in with the state of Texas. We've got a great LGBT community here. She's going to be fine. We're going to embrace her. And so it became an argument between the LA lesbians and the Houston lesbians but the overall arching story was that everyone was either so sad to lose Paige, and Houston was so excited to get Paige, and also being like, basically, we're going to follow her around and make sure she's protected on the streets of Houston. It was unbelievable. This was almost the feel-good moment of the week. It probably should be, but I wanted to talk about it in the context of the game. But it was just like this epic moment of the good of social media, right? And just like these two communities wanting to keep her, wanting to protect her. I don't even know if Paige Neilsen knows this, but I'll probably isolate this clip from the podcast and send it to her. Not that I know her, but I mean, of course, we should be friends. Why not? So that is all the drama going into the Sunday game against North Carolina, right? And I'm thinking, we lose Neilsen, we lose Henri, like we're going to get crushed. North Carolina is so good. They're just always good. They've got Ashley Sanchez, Tyler Lucy, who used to play for ACFC. So we go into the game. There's signs that say like, terrible trade, ACFC. Like, we love Paige, right? So I just was like, we're going down. Well, we wound up winning. We wound up winning 2-1. And it was this kind of teachable moment, right? Also, a lot of people were like, we're selling our tickets. Like, we're done with this, right? But it was this moment. I was never going to sell my tickets. I'm always going to go to the stadium. And I'm sure a lot of people obviously were just upset. But it was just this moment of like, no matter what happens in the trades, management, you got to come, you got to go, and you got to support the players, and you got to support the team, because I'm thinking, I'm devastated that we lose these two players, but I'm also eating a hot dog, having a beer in the stands, and they have to actually play the game. And they just came together and had a phenomenal game. Here's a player to watch, Claire Emsley. She scored 2 goals. Okay, I know I'm giving you a lot of homework, Herlighters. Go on YouTube and watch Claire Emsley's goals, ACFC against North Carolina about a week ago. Epically beautiful goals. One came on a set piece, probably, a couple yards outside the box. There's the wall. You've got the goalie. It was a bend it like Beckham over the wall into the top left corner. Just gorgeous goals. And then Alyssa Thompson, one of our other stars, who's, I'm not even kidding, 19. Last year, she got drafted to ACFC and had to miss her prom. I mean, that's how young. I'm like, 19? Oh, God, I think I was discovering Jack Daniels when I was 19. Just ridiculous. She gives just an absolute beautiful assist. Emsley, just a really tight angle, hits it in the back of the goal. I wish Claire Emsley could play for our national team, but she's Scottish, so she's going to be playing for the Scottish national team, if they have one. I would assume. So we wound up winning 2-1, exciting. North Carolina, and it was just also, just to be nerdy, North Carolina statistically dominated the game. I think they had the ball like 63% of the time. They outshot us. They had more possession, but we found a way to win, and that's why all these soccer teams are just, again, so fun to watch. And then the other game I'm going to highlight is the game a couple days ago. ACFC played Kansas City Current. Very curious to see if we could hold our own against Kansas City. And we did. We lost 3-1, but the score does not reflect the game. But I want to tell you this, and this is going to be part of the podcast. It's called I'm probably going to call it the Rachel Maddow moments, where you get a little bit of a backstory or kind of history. Kansas City Current, do yourselves a favor and watch this team. They are the number one team in the league, and they have a very compelling feel-good story. Also, in the bucket list is go to every single NWSL stadium. I've only been to 3 or 4. Kansas City is very high on my list, if not number 1 on my list. I think in a couple weeks I'll probably hit my 4th or 5th stadium. I will go to all the stadiums. Please invite me, Herlighters. Invite me to your stadium. I'm very fun to have a beer with and sit next to, and you can tell me all about your team and the culture of the team. Kansas City, real quick. Kansas City, here's the backstory real quick. Expansion team. In 2021, they came in last. 2022, they come in 5th. Last year, second to last, right? So you have this kind of floundering expansion team in Kansas City, and the owners double down. And this is what you need. And this is what Sue Bird has been, on every major channel talking about. You have to invest. If you invest in women's sports, you will have success. You will have success. You will have the momentum. You will have the attendance. It is an amazing investment. Okay, so it's a husband and wife, Chris and Angie Long. I did a deep dive. I'll spare the details. Investment bankers, Wall Street, made a ton of money, graduated. They both graduated from Princeton. The woman, Angie Long, a phenomenal athlete at Princeton. So she always wanted to invest in women's sports. And the other owner is Brittany Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes' wife. He's the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. He also is now an investor, but it was her that, with the Longs, that brought that team to Kansas City. She was a phenomenal soccer player in college. So again, women investors, obviously along with her husband and Patrick. But I'm just saying, when you have female athletes and then you give them a lot of money, they invest in women's sports. Doesn't matter if you're an athlete, invest in women's sports. Because of their investment, they privately financed the first stadium purpose-built exclusively for a professional women's soccer team. They built a stadium on the waterfront. Now the whole waterfront is expanding. The only issue is that there's 11,500 seats. There should have been double, but that's okay. We'll take it. It is the only stadium built for a specific women's sports team. Sold out every single game. They invested. They got a ton of international players along with some great local products. And now they are the number 1 team in the league. They invested in new coaches off season. Vladko, our U.S. women's national team, on a redemption tour. He's the head coach. Freya Coombs, who got fired last year from ACFC. She's the assistant. Redemption tour. They've got Chewinga, Zanarnato from Brazil, Lavangues. I am butchering all these names. She's from France. Debinha from Brazil. I'm telling you, this team is so good. I'm sitting there watching this team as an ACFC fan, slightly at times cheering for Kansas City because they were so fun to watch. But really proud of ACFC. They got the first goal. It was one of those games where it's a tale of two halves, right? The first half, we just looked. I don't think we've ever played a better half of soccer. And then the second half, they regrouped, made the necessary adjustments in the second half, scored a goal within 15, 20 minutes. But it was a 1-1 game until the 89th minute. They dominated the second half, but we held on. Also, just a huge shout out to Adie Franch, the goalkeeper. Soccer fans, you know her. She did a whole bunch of call-ups to the national team. She had the most amazing game and goal. It was like a highlight reel. Then they broke and they were up 2-1, and then they put another one in. So they wound up winning 3-1. But very proud of ACFC. They were kind of outmatched, and they hung in there. I watched another game, Gotham play Louisville on Sunday just for fun. I'm telling you, the National Women's Soccer League, the level of play, it does not matter who your team is, what you watch, you are going to see an enjoyable, end-to-end action-filled game. So go support your teams. If you don't live close, get in the car, road trip, baby. These teams are so badass and they're so fun. So get your tickets, go watch them. All right, we're wrapping this up with the feel-good moment of the week. Full circle, we're going to talk about Caitlin Clark. She's the feel-good moment of the week, specifically because she got paid. It's either going to be announced or she's going to sign on the dotted line soon. Nike gave her $28 million in an endorsement deal. And the double part of this feel-good moment is the outrage that new basketball fans have been screaming about, because her starting salary in the WNBA is $76,000. And as a lifelong WNBA fan, a person that has been on podcasts or every time I can, supporting women's sports, supporting more pay and investing in women's sports. I think it's so feel good how people who have just started watching are so angry about her starting salary. They are absolutely outraged that rookies, get $76,000. I'm like, listen, a couple of years ago it was 40 something. So the game is growing. We have to be patient. Obviously, women barely supported just in life. I think we got the right to vote a couple years ago. So we've got a lot of work to do. But the outrage, I think, is so feel good. And this more like awareness of the discrepancy between men's, the NBA and the WNBA. We need that outrage. So keep complaining about it, keep voicing your opinions. And the best thing you can do is to buy season tickets, or as many tickets as you can. Go see these games, support these women's, because again, full circle, attendance goes up, ratings go up, salaries go up. Invest in women's sports, go support these women. Caitlin Clark, just a huge thank you for being so awesome and propelling women's sports. And $28 million. Get the bag. She did it. Very exciting. That is the episode. It is the inaugural episode of Herlights. I couldn't be more thrilled just to be back talking sports with all of you. So fans, friends, family, have the best week of your life.